At 2:36, before dawn, a sailboat off Portugal drifted under engine. Canvas quiet. Coffee cooling in a mug clipped beside the companionway. Slowly north. The sea was flat enough to hold stars. Then a smooth black back rose beside the hull, silent as oil. Almost close enough to touch. No one shouted at first. The skipper just felt the wheel twitch under his palm. A small, private movement that did not belong to stiff wind. Below the stern, something had found the rudder. Gnats softly, not struck it, not scraped it, taken it, as if testing a locked door, from below. The boat kept moving, but now the steering answered late. Port became nothing. Starboard came back trembling. The wake bent wrong behind them, like thread. For sailors in these waters, that feeling has a name now. Not storm, not collision. An Iberian Orca interaction at night, among night crews. The first reported interactions began in May 2020, in the same Atlantic corridors yachts use between Portugal, Spain, Gibraltar, and the Mediterranean under familiar traffic. By 2025, Mongabay reported more than 750 encounters since that first season, with more than 80 interactions logged during 2025 alone in reports. Numbers make it sound tidy. It is not tidy when your rudder stock groans and the cockpit floor vibrates under bare feet at midnight. On September 13, 2025, 5 people were rescued after orcas repeatedly contacted a sailboat off Costa de Caparica and it sank later. No injuries were reported. That detail matters. It also does not erase the sound of water entering a place built to keep water out that night. The Iberian Orca subpopulation is small, roughly 37 animals, and it is listed as critically endangered by conservation authorities today in summaries. So the story refuses the easy shape. A vanishing animal is disabling boats. Frightened humans are trying gently not to harm it. The International Whaling Commission workshop cautioned against harmful deterrence, because these killer whales are protected, and the population is already fragile during recommendations. If you sail those routes, consider official guidance before passage. Check current reports online. Plan shallow options where advised. Leave the fireworks and cruelty ashore, because the strange part is not that orcas can break boats. The strange part is how calm the reports often sound afterward in daylight. A nudge at the stern. A turn of the wheel. A pale eye under the surface, appearing once, then gone, under moonlight. Scientists describe orcas as highly social animals, able to learn careful behaviors and pass them through groups like local customs quietly. A pod can carry knowledge the way a family carries a recipe, not written down, repeated beside the young, until it stays for years. The IWC report warned that words like aggression or attack are inappropriate for describing these interactions with scientific care at sea, in records. That is hard to remember when the wheel spins on its own. Breathes in. Language becomes thin when the boat suddenly stops obeying you. Some crews hear scraping. Some hear thuds like a fist under the transom. Some hear nothing, just the sudden uselessness of steering in darkness. Researchers have proposed play, practice, social learning, and repeated habit as possible explanations, while stopping short of claiming certainty here so far. Certainty would be comforting. It would almost put a label on the black backs circling behind the boat, and labels make people breathe easier. Bruno Diaz Lopez, quoted by Mongabay, compared the rudder behavior to a training toy for the animals to handle together, repeatedly. A toy can still sink you. A game can still leave a crew in life jackets, watching their mast lean into dark water beside them. The Cruising Association says the shallow water route near Gibraltar appears to reduce risk, but there is no zero-risk option there anywhere. One approach is humility. Treat the passage plan like weather, not superstition. Check before leaving. Change course quietly when the latest pattern says change. The patterns move. Galicia lights up. The Cadiz and Tangier Triangle quiets. Then another month shifts the map again overnight, without apology. In 2025, The Cruising Association reported lower activity around Cadiz, Tangier, and Gibraltar, while Galicia saw higher or record activity in some periods that year. Picture the quiet before contact, the kettle ticking down, a red headlamp, a hand on the wheel, the sea breathing against fiberglass in darkness. Then the boat yaws, not much, enough to wake everybody, enough for someone below to sit upright without knowing why, from sleep. A dorsal fin moves past the stern. Whisper. No splash. No hurry. Just a black blade sliding unhurried through cold blue water. The crew cuts the engine. Or leaves it. Old advice changes. New advice arrives. Every choice feels late once the rudder shakes harder now. Follow current local guidance, not dockside folklore. Consider notifying rescue services if steering suddenly fails, and keep hands clear of the wheel spokes. GT Atlantic Orca and Orca Iberica collect interaction reports and publish information to help crews understand recent activity at sea in nearby waters. A report sounds dry until you imagine the person filing it with salt on their sleeves and a bilge alarm still ringing somewhere. Mungabay reported that no one was injured in the September sinking off Portugal after 5 people were rescued from the vessel that day. Rescue is a clean word. It hides wet shoes, clipped voices, floating cushions, and the small, cold shock of seeing open water inside. The population follows Atlantic bluefin tuna, bringing orcas and yachts into overlapping routes along the Iberian coast each season offshore, during seasons. That overlap is not a villain. It is geography. It is hunger, migration, fiberglass, and human schedules meeting where the shelf drops at dusk. The IWC workshop in Madrid gathered experts to discuss management recommendations for Iberian killer whale and vessel interactions in detail and calmly. If fear takes over, consider slowing the story in your head. These are not monsters. They are protected animals doing something costly at night. Costly for the sailor. Costly for the whale if fear becomes policy. Costly for a coast learning to share a narrow road together safely. At night, though, policy feels far away. The deck lights make a wet green skin on the waves. The stern disappears into black. Something knocks once under the hull. Long pause. A crew member says it was nothing, but nobody moves from the cockpit for seconds. The Cruising Association found 2025 recorded interactions were around 90% of the average since 2021 by mid-December in its published review. A near-average year does not feel average when the boat under your feet has become a question you cannot answer at all. Some months and regions rose above usual levels, according to the Cruising Association, showing how uneven the risk can be from harbor. Before a passage, consider downloading current maps well before, checking maritime notices, briefing the crew, and deciding who calls for help if steering fails. Preparation does not remove dread. It gives dread a locker, a checklist, a place to sit while the dark water gathers beside you. Since 2020, reported encounters have included damaged rudders, disabled steering, and several sinkings. But injuries to people remain rare reported in databases. Rare is not never. It is also not permission to punish the animal. 2 truths can occupy the same cockpit at once. If this story is keeping you company tonight, a quiet like or subscribe softly helps keep these late watches lit for everyone listening. The question people keep asking is motive. Are they playing? Practicing. Teaching. Remembering pain. Or repeating something that simply worked once, in water. The IWC and other researchers emphasize uncertainty, urging management that protects vessels without framing the whales as malicious actors at sea, at night. Malice is a human word. It carries courts, grudges, doors slammed in kitchens. The ocean does not always hand us human meanings right away. What it hands us is pressure on a rudder, a black curve beside the quarter, breath rising white and brief in the cold beside you. Mungabay described the latest sinking as part of a continuing ramming game, while scientists still quietly debate what the behavior means. Game is another imperfect word. It sounds light until you hear the emergency pump start, steady and small beneath the cabin sole at night. One careful rule may help. Protect life first, Protect the animals too, and do not improvise harmful deterrents in panic. While scared, imagine the orca beneath the stern, feeling the rudder move like a lever, a thing made by humans, responsive, stubborn, repeatable. Again tonight. Now imagine a younger one watching, not learning hatred, just watching technique, angle, timing, the soft give of a boat steering from shadows. Orca cultures can include temporary trends and learned behaviors, a reason researchers take social transmission seriously in these events offshore, among pods. A fashion in the sea can break a rudder? That sentence sounds absurd until the towline finally tightens and the harbor lights appear. Authorities and conservation groups continue to recommend monitoring updates, reporting interactions, and avoiding actions that injure or harass the whales every time. For crews, that means boring discipline, routes, watches, radios, life jackets, the unglamorous work that lets everyone, human and whale, survive. The Iberian orcas do not come with answers. They come with breath, muscle, family, memory, and a silence deeper than intention. The sailor can replace a rudder, slowly, expensively, with shaking hands. A population of 37 cannot be replaced at all. That small population size is why harmful responses can matter so much, according to conservation reporting and the IWC workshop. So we are left offshore listening. The wheel trembles. The engine idles. Somewhere below, the rudder moves again without permission. Not an attack, maybe. Not a warning, maybe. Just a quiet game under the stern. And humans learning how little they steer. By dawn, the sea looks ordinary again. Only the wake is crooked, fading behind the boat like a question nobody can tow home.